I want you to close your eyes and imagine your life after having achieved your dream. Perhaps you're famous. Perhaps you own a business. Perhaps you live a quiet, cozy life with the one you love. Whatever it might be, visualize what it would feel like to wake up every day knowing you've reached the summit of your life. Now, open your eyes. Ask yourself, how would you feel if you knew you would never reach that summit? Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. For today's video, I want to impart some wisdom from my life experience in the hopes that you can use it to gain some success in your own lives. This painting was inspired by my current situation in life. I've always struggled with keeping my head afloat financially, and now I've been forced to move back in with my parents. For some backstory, a majority of my life I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I bet everything on my success. Well, 10 years have passed since I left college and threw away my law school acceptance letter. I honestly thought I would be in a much better place by now, but here I am. At 30 years old, my body is failing and I have no health insurance because I live in America. Every night, if I sleep on the wrong side of my body, my heart will briefly stop along with my breathing. In addition, about half a year ago, something in my brain seemed to have broken. I know this because I felt some random pressure in my head moving around, and then once that left, I started getting what feels like shocks in my head or prickling sensation sometimes. I've been told it's possibly just anxiety, but I'm fairly doubtful of that. And this has been going on for 6 or 7 months at this point. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds. However, I think it's important to mention that I feel like I might die soon, or at least death is not really a stranger to me. And if that were the case, I would have nothing to show for it. Not really. While I have written 10 novels, several short stories, and made many paintings, an outsider looking in will still see nothing when there is no success to back it up. And it really makes me think about everything. All this time, I am still unsuccessful after having showed much promise in my younger years. I hope I'll live a long life, but who can say? That's why I want to get as many of my ideas out as possible before I run out of time, as morbid as that sounds. I really do think something can be learned from my experience, and that's where this video comes in. I've been failing my whole life, but I think failure is one of our greatest teachers. We as a society try hard to only demonstrate success, but I feel it is just as important to discuss failure. Right now, there seems to be some belief that working hard equals success, when the truth is that a lot of people are working hard, but most are not living their dream, especially artists of every kind. So, if anyone else wants to embark on this path that is creativity, they should be properly equipped to make the journey. Allow my experience to at least offer you some thoughts or insight before you shoot your shot. And if you're already doing the grind, then maybe I can help you avoid some mistakes you've yet to encounter. And to put an arbitrary number on it, let's talk about 5 things I've learned that hopefully will help you along the way. So, this one might go without saying, but just in case, I'll say it anyway. While I am currently unemployed, I've been working ever since I left college in all sorts of jobs. I've been a records keeper, administrative assistant, a legal assistant, quality assurance officer for a video game, operations specialist, project manager, Uber Eats driver, Lyft driver, DoorDasher, bartender, server, expo, blah, 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 blah. All these were temp hires or businesses that closed down or jobs I quit, and all the while I was allowing myself the ability to live alone in a crappy studio in the Bay Area and write. But besides money, my bored brain came up with many great ideas for stories while I waited. And when I got into painting, coworkers were people that I was able to do commissions for, or So jobs are important because in this day and age, we artists do not have patrons or guilds or any institution willing to safeguard us. We are individuals that have to learn a craft, buy expensive supplies during training, and then gain the skills to sell it ourselves in a highly competitive market. So have a job to fund you while you try to make your dreams work. You will not be the lucky person to get into your industry while you're young. You might be, but chances are you won't be. Pick something stable and then work your dream on the side. Do not let money constrain your life. This is advice I admittedly do not take for myself, and I believe is a key contributor to my lack of success. I'm someone who's interested in like everything, and so I paint everything. There are certain themes I enjoy, but when people see my paintings, I don't think they can really figure out my style or what I'm about because I sort of paint whatever has my interest at the time. But for you, while this is like sort of fun, one of the fastest ways of growing is to do a lot of one specific thing. So picking the subject matter you enjoy and painting it the way you like to paint will be better in the long run for refining that skill and displaying a consistent body of work. When people look at your paintings, they want to buy that style or brand that they can recognize as uniquely you. And while that might sound businessy, it is. In our society, you are a business. And complexity or diversity or like a wide range of topics, subjects is hard to sell. This one sort of goes with the previous piece of advice. Once you know what your niche is, find what market it belongs to. Whether in painting it be decorative, commercial, fine art, etc., or in the book world, romantasy, lit RPG, gothic horror, hard sci-fi, etc. Knowing your market makes it much easier to sell to that market because you can research the current trends, understand what sort of buyers exist in that market, and study how they are successful. You can compare your work to the market and see if it could be in the same gallery space or bookshelf as those other works. And this isn't some secret tip, it's what businesses do all the time because they can gain a working model for what actually attracts customers to their products. So, if you actually want to sell your work, this is an important piece of the business. After all, art takes a lot of love to make, but a lot of business acumen to get into someone else's house. This is advice I actually do follow. Know yourself and how you work. I know that I work best when the world is silent. So at night or early morning when it's dark outside and stimulus is at a low, uh, that's when I work best. I also work well when I maybe grab a morning coffee or tea and go outside of my house to write. Like knowing your time is important because that's when you'll be the most productive. As they say, work smarter, not harder. And along with this, once you know the time and space you work best in, limit the distractions that might compete for your attention. Go to a different room, turn your phone off, play music, listen to a podcast or audiobook while painting. Just do whatever you can to put yourself in that flow state while working your art. Inspiration is good, and inspiration helps us feel motivated. But if you need inspiration to actually put brush to canvas or fingers to key, you are in the wrong field. When I have my body hunched over for hours and hours while working on a single painting, I'm not feeling inspired. I feel old because I'm complaining about my aching body. When I feel inspired, I take notes. If you look at my phone's notepad or voice memos, you will see hundreds upon hundreds of notes for story ideas, lines to use, painting ideas, music lyrics, and now YouTube videos and game ideas. You'll even find it in my voice memos. Like, let me show you. My brain is constantly cranking out new ideas, and there's simply no time for me to do everything before getting a new one. That's why it's best to just write everything down somewhere and keep as many notes and tidbits of information you need to execute the idea in a good way. One of my favorite books I ever wrote was in a world where music is the magic system. And I wanted to make the world about like a year prior to writing it, but I couldn't force myself to do it, so I let it sit in the back burner of my mind. And I still remember it was like 3 in the morning one night, and I was coming down from a really good high when suddenly inspiration struck and I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I took out my laptop and wrote about like 20 pages, 20 or 30 pages of like terms and lore and history and music theory, main character ideas, and basically anything else I would need. And yeah, I think I started on the book maybe a month or two after that point when I was incredibly bored at my office job. Um, and without those extensive notes, I wouldn't have been able to write that book. If you stayed this long, I appreciate you, and I'm very thankful you decided to actually hear me sort of ramble about some of the things I've learned. For this final piece of advice, this calls back to the beginning of the video. It is the most important piece of advice in the video as a whole. Make sure you want to do this. There are many paths in life, and plenty much easier than becoming a successful artist. No one reads anymore. Paintings are way oversaturated in terms of the market. Making movies is practically impossible if you're not in the Hollywood nepotism circle. Being a musician is the same as being homeless. The list goes on. If you're looking for fame and fortune, then you've probably come to the wrong place. That's why it is important to ask yourself why it is you feel like you need to do art. If you never find any success, will you still be happy? I don't write for the accolades, I write because it is sort of like a compulsion, because I like to create and see my finished work. I like trying to make a story capture what I'm feeling and thinking and just being able to relate that to someone else. If I didn't need money to live in the world, I would just write or paint or create whatever I wanted without the need for external validation. And if you can't see yourself happy in failure, then you should find something more certain. An artist's life is chaotic and unstable even for those who find success. Chaos is fun, but is not for everybody. The freedom to create comes with lots of uncertainty. So unless you think you can handle that life, pursue something else. After all, creating can always be just a hobby or a side hustle that allows you sort of an outlet of your emotions, but it doesn't have to be the center of your life. So that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hoped you gained a little something out of my ramblings. For now, let's have a look at the final result, titled The Last Beat of the Dying Heart. And I'll see you next time. This one should definitely be a no-brainer, but in this day and age, I don't think it is. It seems like people really just kind of approach painting thinking it's this sort of free form thing that has no rules or boundaries, and you can just kind of do whatever you want and call it art. But that's just simply not true. Art has rules no matter the medium you're using. Knowing these rules is how you can play with them in various ways to make something unique. Learning the rules also how you can get better. Being self-taught, a lot of my initial art time was just trying to learn how to gain technical mastery in order to paint what I see. Nowadays, though, I'm trying to fill in the gaps of what I would have probably learned at art school, or if I was like a million other people and just drew as a child. I'm also learning how to draw because I can't. So I think once I get a good handle on my drawing skills, my own art will have a very big upgrade in quality. But since there are so many different things to learn when it comes to making an artwork, I also don't think I'm astronomically far behind. And that's the same for everybody. We all probably have one area we're sort of predisposed to or just feel more comfortable with, and we have to build out the other areas, whatever they might be. You know, like maybe it's I need to work better at getting control of my colors, capturing like mood, atmosphere. Maybe you need to just be better about composition. You know, whatever it is, like me coming in, I might have been bad at drawing, but I could have been like really good at everything else. So it's still just one more thing to learn in the grand scheme of things. So learn your craft. The better you get at understanding it, the better you'll get at expressing your ideas to the audience. This may seem a little counterintuitive as a creative, given that we are known for being in our caves, being poorly misunderstood, and being introverted. All things true of me. But that doesn't mean we can't brave sunlight and try to have an active life. Fun fact, I've only sold one original painting in my life, being this one. All my other sales have come from pet portrait commissions. The only way I was able to get those commissions was because I have a lot of friends and I talk to a lot of people. A good amount of my times I can be at a bar, sitting at the counter, talking to whoever happens to sit near, and end up with a commission. Like, it's not like every time. Otherwise, I mean, I think that'd be a pretty lucrative way to make some money. But a good amount of times that it was enough to support me as like a little bit of a side hustle. But yeah, connections are how people actually succeed in the world, and knowing how to make them at will is an essential tool in making a sale and growing your business. So yeah, be social, get out there, talk to people, be curious, be friendly. Skill and talents are not enough to carry you to riches or fame or whatever it is you're looking for. This one might seem a little esoteric in how to be successful, but it is vital. One thing I do think I've been successful at is having a variety of experiences. I've seen the world. I've tried many, many new things, and always been open to letting someone teach me something new. And while it might sound like that's a rich, privileged thing to do, I would like to point out one of the things I used to do was I went sailing, and I learned how to sail. And I think it cost me $30 a month, 20 or $30 a month, to go to the sailing club, where they would just, you could learn from all the people there, and it was a little community. And I would go out on the water every day, and eventually, learn how to sail a dinghy, and you learn all the little pieces of a boat and corva and these techniques and how to read the wind and stuff like that. And yeah, it was like 20 or $30 a month, which is not that bad. The hardest part for me was, driving out there, because I think it was like 40 minutes away from where I lived, and doing that a couple times a week. But I like that routine. And yeah, I learned how to sail, and it was just something I just saw one day. It wasn't that bad of a price, and I said, let's just try it. So I do think just kind of trying different things and being open to the world is how you find ideas. I got really into the gym because I started going rock climbing, and my rock climbing gym had, a station to work out. They had boxing classes, which I really got into, and they had like just a really good community once again. So, without being open to what the world could offer, my stories would be very dull. And when we ask ourselves why the world is, we learn new insights that inspire more questions and more ways to see the world. So, variety of the mind creates our unique individuality, and that is essential to being a successful artist. Only you can live your life and see it the way you do. So, fill that perspective with the world and everything beyond. Doing so will color your imagination and bring you an endless amount of inspiration and ideas. Number 9, join a group. So this is advice I've been trying to take, but personally I prefer to make my own group when I finally have the chance. I have a very, I've had this idea for a while to sort of make this own art community if I ever move back to the Bay Area, because they are lacking greatly in the arts department. And I think a lot of people actually need that, especially nowadays. Community is very hard to find. So, for you, finding others in a similar pursuit as your own can be helpful for inspiration and learning. There's also an accountability aspect for those of you who might need a little help in motivation. A group is great for keeping everyone working to their personal expectations without nagging you about it. It's also a great way to make friends because you all have a sort of shared goal. And maybe if one of you finds a gallery or an event, they might be able to help you too. Just make sure you do the same. You will find people who actually, or you'll find people in general, you will find people generally like to help, so long as you don't abuse their kindness. And one thing I did notice about the few artists I met in the Bay Area is that some of them do have studios, and or at least like a group studio, and yeah, they would have galleries they would have an open presentation, an open house. They would have an open house every now and then. Oh my god. So this is something I did notice with some artists in the Bay Area, some of the ones I met, is that they would have an open house, and it was like a group of artists in like this one sort of like very bare bones building. But I mean, things are expensive out there, so no shade there. But they would have all their arts on display, and there are quite a bit of people looking through all these. I don't know how many sales they made, but still, they all sort of were able to just like kind of become one group, and as a group display all of their works and make it a big event. Because one person trying to do that would have to rent out the space and then have enough arts to fill the space and then start to get the word out. But if everyone's kind of doing it, you're sort of like, dividing the burden amongst all of you. So it's a group is very helpful in terms of just building yourself up in your local community. And people who are local will be more willing to buy locally because there's like a bit of pride in supporting local artists, or supporting anyone local, really, because it's close to you. It just feels a little more relevant, a little more personal.